All right, quick update. I just did my, ow, fuck, that's hot. I just did my oil pressure gauge. You can't see it down there somewhere, right? Oh, kind of in there somewhere. Anyway, right behind the alternator. Threw that all back together. I don't think that was a ground wire. I actually think that this thing I pulled off, I think this is actually a sensor. From what I read online a little bit, the sensor's shit, so I'm gonna go in the cob and disable it. I got the fuel pressure regulator. So if there's any question, I also didn't see this shit online either. This top hose on the engine side, and then it should be the black one on the firewall side, the one on the bottom. That's your fuel going. That's the fuel going into the engine. The middle one here is the return, if I'm not mistaken, and then the bottom one down here will be the, I want to say the vacuum line. Who the fuck knows, man? But I couldn't really find much information on it. There was a little bit, but anyway, the cables for the sensor. By the way, these are glow shift sensors, or gauges rather. I ran the fuel one back here. The oil one runs under the manifold, just right back here. And there's these little, where this electrical connector goes, it's running along the side of that and then pushed down through the firewall. I'm gonna show you where. If you reach your hand up back here, you can reach in there and feel, and I'll show you real quick. You can feel where you would push those through. I don't know if there's any light. My phone doesn't have fucking light. Anyway, there is a grommet right behind the clutch pedal. Right behind it and above it, there's a rubber grommet. And all I did was I took the grommet out. Or actually, I tried to cut it with a razor blade in an X pattern so that I could push cables through it and not let as much water in. But I tried to cut it and it pushed out the back. So whenever it pushed out the backside, what I ended up doing was cutting a hole in it, cut an X, push the cables through this way, and then put the grommet back in and fed the cables up. So the cables are going, following along this hose right here. They're coming right through there on the dash and then straight up the top in the middle. That's the gauges. They look decent. Oh, ignition's on. When I turn the ignition on, you can see the gauges are good. This is with the headlights on, so it does dim. So that dimming shit did work. When I didn't have the gauge hooked up properly, I just had the power running into it to test it. Whenever I would turn on my headlights, I only tested on the fuel. It would jump all the way to max, 100 PSI. And I think that's because it's just a 12 volt connection, so I wasn't too worried about it. But one issue that I've noticed already is, so fuel's fine, right? It's pretty normal. Yeah, I know I'm running fucking rich. And then the oil pressure is perfectly fine, right? But on my dash, I've got the fucking oil light. So what I'm probably gonna do, and what I suggest to other people, is get on your access tuner or your access port and just fucking delete that shit. Like, I read that the access, or the stock oil pressure sensor is shit, and people have been saying that it only reads at, like, if you're only getting 2 pounds of pressure. And what the fuck do I need a pressure sensor for when I can see my pressure right there? So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope this helps.